Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You're tuned into Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News, CNBC News, and NBC Sports Radio Station, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Amazon Music, Audible, Tiki Live, Rumble, Podchaser, Spreaker, and more. Why so many places? Because I want the maximum splatter zone for more hope and happiness. So there's no gossip here, no scandal here, and no K words here. No Kardashian talk at all. Instead, I want you to focus on your own reality show, your life, and how you can be happy 88% of the time. So I have topics and shows to that. And in fact, today's show number 780. I've only been doing this for a little over, well, actually 9.5 years. It's now officially 9.5. It was just a second ago, it was 9 years, but I am so grateful for this place where I get to get you to drink rose-colored Kool-Aid, because Lord knows there's so many things out there that'll make you feel bad. I want things that make you feel good, because that is your birthright to happiness. And it is that time of the month. Once a month, I bring on a very special guest. She's my staff dream interpreter. Her name is Julie Loar. She has written award-winning books. She takes people to travel to places with symbols. She has a new book out that she'll insert in there when I ask her in between callers and guests who are asking for their dreams to be interpreted. In fact, I see the eyeballs rolling in. Thank you so much. I'm now streaming live on Facebook, on YouTube, and LinkedIn. So if you have a dream that you're kind of wondering, I have that dream over and over again, or a disturbing dream or a good dream, whatever that dream is, even if you're a daydream believer and as you notice, I have a little different background. I am streaming from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. So, but I'm getting you anywhere I am. So please do go in the comments, write your dream down. If we have time, we will absolutely have Julie address your dream and maybe get a little interaction going. Thank you for the thumbs up. If you are driving, don't go to your phone and try to do this, but when you land, please do come and chat with us. We do have a special guest lined up who has a dream that's going to be asking for interpretation, but you also, I'm sure, will have a little time near the end where you can go ahead and do that. So without further ado, please welcome back to my show, Julie Loar. Hold on one second. Let me get your applause. Maybe we can, Polly, there's the Welcome, Julie. So good to have you back.
Thank you, Dr. Marissa. It's just always a pure delight and joy to be with you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And normally we do our gratitude sandwich at this point, but we want to get right to the dream. So I'm going to let you do your gratitudes on your own. Everybody knows what that is. Take a bite of my gratitude sandwich. I'll just sum it up by I'm grateful my mom's out of the hospital. She had broken ribs, pneumonia, sepsis, the whole thing. We didn't think she was going to make it on Tuesday, so I had problems with passport, but I got here and guess what? Moved her back to her retirement home. And now I get to run around looking for long-term care, which is, I'm grateful the Canadian system is somewhat easy to maneuver, certainly to help my mom try to do that before I leave. But I'm grateful for my brother allowing me to use his home, and that's why I get to broadcast with you here. So that's my gratitude and appreciation for today. Julie, I'm grateful that you get to come on and share your expertise gratis, and this is a gift to the show as she brings more awareness. So before we go to our caller, just to summarize for those who aren't familiar with the last two times she's been on, if you could give the most important things that you want people to remember as you're interpreting dreams, the sort of the world of dreams. So I didn't warn you, but I did the recap last time. So
I want to just take a second though and honor what you're going through, Marissa. That's when dreams often show up in our life as support or guidance or strength giving, and that somehow our own guidance speaks to us at these times when we have overwhelming responsibilities. And that just honor you for being able to go through what you're doing and still have your life. So
thank you.
I applaud for you.
Yes.
I love what you said. And I think, in a sense, the most important thing to say for people to realize, and that most of us don't unless we really start to pay attention to our dreams, is that dreams are always a reflection, like a mirror, of what's happening in our life right now. And what's happening in our life right now might be a reflection of a pattern of choices that we've made. I once had a friend who was a psychologist, and he told me that he just had a client leave his office saying she'd broke up with her 17th Christopher. With 17 men named Christopher, but she finally realized that that was the same pattern. She was always in a relationship with somebody similar. Dreams are the same. They give us feedback about our choices. Sometimes we need encouragement. Sometimes we need to look in the mirror and be really honest with what's happening. So that's probably the most important thing. The second most important thing is dreams speak in the language of symbols. And symbols sort of bypass our logical mind and go straight to subconscious and are, in a sense, capable of being understood immediately. Just like the sign that has a circle with a line across that says, well, no entrance, no smoking, whatever. Everybody understands that. Everybody knows what Mickey Mouse ears look like as a symbol of the Disney empire and so forth. And if you live in a particular state, you know the state flower or flag. So those are the two, I think, most important things. And the third, most of us kind of think dreams are just some random thing that happens and we don't understand that they have meaning. Just like anything else in our life, it takes a commitment and intention. Keeping a dream diary, spending a few minutes not moving in the morning when we wake up, just lying still in bed and trying to recall even one particular memory, one particular symbol that stood out as we wake up in the morning. That's probably a bunch right there, Dr. Marissa, and certainly I can talk about more, but for
That's
people.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. It's a great setting that we can definitely jump from. And thank you for the eyeballs that continue to march in. I know that you're streaming live with me either on Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube. Feel free to put your dream verbiage in the chat if you'd like Julie to take a look at that. But we're going to go right to someone who is a volunteer who's come to have her dream interpreted. Please welcome to the show, Trini. Oh, and she does not have her camera off. So I think she had wanted to do that. There we go. Here we go. Trini, welcome to the show. Hold on. Let me give you your appropriate applause. All right. Welcome, Trini. And you can just go ahead and tell Julie what your dream has been about.
Awesome. Well, good morning. Grateful to be here today.
Thank you. Lovely to connect with you.
Well, maybe it'll make sense for me to start with the most recent one I had about an hour ago.
That's pretty recent.
Yeah. I had a dream about a dead plant. I have this bamboo plant that's been sitting in my house for at least 3 years now. And within the last year or two, I've been doing my best to save it from preventing it from turning brown. The leaves were absolutely all gone. And I'm like, oh no, it's dead. And I woke up.
Well, that's really interesting. So if you were listening to what I said before, it's a reflection of something that's going on in your life right now. And of course, we don't know, Dr. Marissa or I don't know what that is, but in your waking life, if I understood you right, you've been nursing this bamboo plant for 3 years, trying to keep it alive. And then in the dream, the plant was dead. So what I would invite you to think about is there some relationship in your life that really needs to end, and that you have been nursing it along and trying to make something last, and maybe you've been doing all the work in this relationship and the other person isn't feeding back, isn't doing their part. So does that make sense?
How does that sound, Jen?
It's funny when you say that. I have a name that just popped up in my head.
Funny how that happens. So there you have it, a great example of how a dream about bamboo dying actually mirrors something in your life. So the symbology there, is that a word, symbology?
Yes.
Okay, the symbology there is uncanny, but sorry, I had to interject.
Well, absolutely. And you may know more about the circumstances, but just as a symbol, of course, bamboo is a weed, even though it's the most powerful plant. And so, you could even go deeper with that symbol. And so what is it in your life that you could be nurturing and putting all this energy into, whose time has come? So, those are the things that I would invite you to reflect on.
Wow. Thank you for that.
Now, did you have any clarifying about that?
Well, that's more clarity because because I dream a lot. I never really put much thought into it, but this time around, maybe need to take this a little bit more seriously, add some closure to certain areas in my life with certain people.
Do you have other dreams that you want to pass on to Julie? See if there's a common theme here.
Yeah, I have one. I had one yesterday. I'm going with the most recent one because it's what I remember. So I booked an event that I'm going to. It's a conference in November, and I've been really excited about it. So I dreamt that I arrived day 1 out of 4, excited, and I got a call from the office to return back immediately. So as a good employee I am, I did. I hopped on an airplane, returned back, got done with my work, and I went, I'm done here. I'm going to book the next flight back to the conference, spend more money. And I did. Flew back and had a great time. That was the dream.
So here again, it's of you were sacrificing yourself in a sense, and duty called and you went back, but then you decided in some level. And so this is looking at what's happening in your life. Where is it that maybe you are giving more or giving too much in an effort? Often for us, and again, I don't know you, Jen, so I'm leaping into the dark here, but you may have a pattern of giving yourself away in every area of your life and not getting back, in a sense, what you would hope. I think the dream's a good sign. You stood up for yourself, you went back, and you said, by golly, I'm going to do this and have a good time. So I think it's an encouragement to stand up for yourself in your life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
And so when we pay attention to our dreams, we start having more of them. And as Dr. Marissa knows, my sermon, I guess, is to have a dream diary, just a plain notebook, piece of paper. I mean, I kind of go all out with a 3-ring binder and teach about that at my workshops. But even just writing down, like the one about the dead bamboo, on that date, I had that dream. And the other one that you mentioned recently about the conference, just briefly, because what happens is when the patterns start to appear is we can look back and see this day I made this choice and where am I continuing to choose. Marissa, would you like to chime in there?
Sure, absolutely. Well, if you haven't figured this out, Jen is also a client of mine. I do some happiness coaching with her. So I'm kind of trying not to laugh because you're absolutely highlighting, a perfect example of how dreams are. You told me there's three kind of dreams. One is a feedback dream, giving you some feedback about something that happened that day that maybe you could do differently next time, or something that's giving you some second thoughts or maybe a little bit of nudging guilt. That's one kind of dream feedback. The second kind is attaboy or encouragement dream, good for you. And then the third kind of dream, which is obviously what Jen's having on several fronts that are, the same theme. It's called a life lesson dream. So it's something that you want to look at because the dreams are telling you the same thing on completely different platforms or forums, flying on an airplane to an event and dead bamboo. So those are, seemingly completely different. But as Julie and Jen, I promise I did not talk to her beforehand and tell her what the coaching sort of topics have been. But I love it that your dreams are being lovingly given to you to encourage and to reinforce those life lessons. What do you think about that, Jen?
Well, I think my dream just came right on time. And this was divine timing for me to be here this morning.
Absolutely. It's interesting when I first invited her, she's like, I don't really have dreams, or I don't usually dream. And since then she's had a plethora of dreams, which is exactly what happened to me on the show. The first time you came in, I said, I rarely dream, if at all. And then what is the statistic that you use?
Everybody dreams 2 hours a night, assuming we sleep. Everybody does, going through sleep cycles. And so think about that. If we all dream 2 hours a night, whether or not we remember them, that's 60 hours a month. There's no way we could. We have even a fragment. It's important. But when we set the intention, I think I told Dr. Marissa, I have a client who said I should come with a Surgeon General's warning that if you, when you start to work with me, you're going to remember your dreams, whether you want to or not.
Absolutely. And what's interesting too is that we have these dreams, and I used to be a poo-poo of dreams. I would say, when people said, what do you think about dreams, Dr. Marissa? I would say, I think it's more important that you focus on your present than something that happened in your sleep. And I have completely, thanks to Julie and her work, retracted that. See, I can be wrong. Not often. I was only wrong once. And that was the time when I said that I was never wrong. So I am a believer now of dreams, not so much that it's kind of like astrology, not so much to say that it is the only thing that you should use to guide your life, but it is certainly a tool and an avenue that I was completely blocking off. So I encourage any of you, and I see more of you eyeballs rolling. If you've just tuned in and wondering the wonderful guests I have today, it is our once a month focus on dreams and dream interpretation. So if you have a dream that you're not sure what it means or if it means anything, please do go to the chat, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, if you are live now, and go ahead and put it in the chat. I have a dream about blankety blank, and I'll put it on the screen and see what Julie thinks about that. Jen, so next dream, I know you had at least three.
Yeah, So this dream is, I don't know if it's a lesson dream, and I did do my homework last night, looking at your last episode. This is about my dad who passed away early January. So far I've seen him 3 times in my dream, and just a little bit about our relationship. We're not close. We don't talk as much. It's been like this all my life. And every time I see him in my dream, he would just pass by, look at me, not say a word. But I would see him having conversation with my other siblings. This last one, maybe 2 weeks ago, he again just walked by. And the dream prior to that was him talking with my brother, giving him some financial advices because he's not doing well financially. The very first dream I received was the first month that he passed. He walked up to me. He was in his early 30s, very healthy. And he just smiled at me. Like he never smiled at me before, and that was it. So I don't know what to make of all of those dreams.
Well, have you forgiven whatever has happened in your own life? First of all, and again, Dr. Marissa knows this, we continue. I had a teacher who once said, all reality is virtual. We actually live in a waking dream because we're all made up of energy. And I would say that this is an opportunity to heal whatever issues you may still have and to know that you're loved. And by the way, almost everyone who dreams of departed loved ones sees them as in the prime of their life. It just seems to be the way they project once they're on the other side. So what I would offer is that it's an opportunity for healing. Do you still have feelings of not being accepted, feelings of not being noticed, feelings of not being loved that were not healed or addressed before he passed?
Yeah, I would actually say yes. I still harbor some anger, resentment. I thought might pass. I guess not. There are times when I have little triggers.
Oh, on that side.
Yeah.
On that side, and Marissa, then I'd love for you to jump in here, but I would say it's the opportunity to say that individual played a role in your life, and this links in to your entire pattern of not taking care of yourself. One more opportunity that taught you, and you have a chance now to say, yes, I'm loved, yes, I'm worthy, and I can go forward. Marissa?
Yes, first of all, I wanted to give Jen some huge kudos for being so vulnerable and honest about where she is with this, because I know that people listening now and people listening later, there are gazillions of people who are in the same boat, who have loved ones who have passed and transitioned to the other side, and the relationship was not 88% happy, and it was not necessarily a loving relationship reciprocally, either one way or the other. And it goes back to what you were saying about relationships and how I always do this, like, are you doing this and they're only doing this, or is it a 50-50, or are they doing this and you're like, screw you, and not doing any? So that whole dynamic in relationships, if that isn't resolved or worked with or settled before the person passes, it can totally create a block to happiness and internal peace, because there's all those things that were not said for whatever reason and for whatever fear. And I'll just be really vulnerable right now too, because I live my life out loud, and I just feel like this is a good time to say this out loud, and I haven't. And I have been very open about my own relationship with my mother. And my whole book, 8 Ways to Happiness, is not written as a psychologist telling you how to be happy. It chronicles the journey out of pain in life, which is mandatory, and suffering, which I was doing because I could not forgive my mom for being a horrible mom. And it's, I'm here in Toronto right now. I have gone through this journey. I'm one of the 7 or 8 out of 10, as Oprah will say, my honorable moniker, 8 out of 10 of us who've had childhood trauma. And my trauma was my mom, who did the best that she could with what she knew, but she chose to be the kind of mom her mom was, which was called me fat, ugly, and clumsy, and was hurtful to me physically for my entire growing up. And because of that reality, I blamed her for everything. And I blamed her for even getting in a bad relationship, because those of us who've had childhood trauma often get into bad relationships to reflect what we are familiar with. And so for decades of my life, I was so angry with her. And I had people who said, you have every right not to have contact with her. Spiritual people who said, you have every right to keep your children away from her. And I did not listen. And I'm really glad. And my teacher, Michael Bernard Beckwith, who taught me how to forgive, not because she deserved it, not because, you know, I was being the better person to forgive her, because it was for me to love myself. I needed to forgive her. And I needed to get to that point where I could say, I love you. I set you free. You have no control over me. And all of that work that's in Spiritual Liberation, his book, and in 8 Ways to Happiness, my book, because he gave me permission to use that forgiveness exercise. So for those of you who haven't done that work, I would encourage you to do that. But what happened was, when she almost died on Tuesday, she had blood oxygen levels of 40%, which can't live long with that, and pulse 40 as well. And I was able to, on FaceTime, because I couldn't get there to her bedside, but she saw me and her eyes were wide open. And I said to her, Mom, I love you. You were a wonderful mom. And I know you did so. Thank you so much for all that you did to teach me. And I meant it from the bottom of my heart. And I was there, and she heard me, and she was trying to talk, but she had the oxygen mask on, but I could read her lips. And I said, I love you, Mom. And she said, I love you. And it was such a moment. And I said, because she's a very devout Christian, so you know, she doesn't like that I go to agape. She doesn't like that I am spiritual rather than religious. So I said, and I accept Jesus as my Lord and Savior. And you could tell she was just so happy. But I did that for her because she thinks I'm not going to heaven if I don't do it her way. So I got out of myself for a minute to be there and come to peace with her right there. And that way, for me, I knew. Now, Jen, I'm saying this because it's okay that your father's already passed. You can also say all those things that you wanted to say from your place. And some of it may not be pretty. Some of it may be, I hated the way you were this, and I hated the way you were that, and you can certainly do that. And you know, I'm going to give you a chance, if you're comfortable with it, to say whatever you want to your father as if he's here, because I do know he's here listening, because everybody that passes is not gone. They're just on the other side listening and cheering us on and loving us in a way that they could not love us from here. Your dad was not a good dad in the traditional sense, but he, you know, did the best that he could. And so, you know, this is a chance, if you're listening, if you have not done this and you know that there's still a piece of you that's not at peace. And I'm sorry, Julie, I'm kind of hijacking your time, and I'm sorry, but this feels like the right time, because there's so many of us who are not happy because they have unfinished business with those who have gone to the other side. And that business, I did the work around there's a great book called Toxic Parents. And there's letters that you can write in there that you never send. And it really doesn't matter if they see it or not. It's for you, boo. It's for us to be at peace with those relationships that we are not at peace about. And it doesn't matter if they say sorry or not, because they'll never say sorry the way you want them to say sorry, right? Because even if my mother said, which she did at one point, I'm sorry. You know, I was very angry and I took it out on you. And I was shocked when she said that, like 5 years ago at Christmas time. But she did take it back after that. So, I mean, it doesn't matter what they say, right? And I believe beyond a shadow of the doubt, Jen, that the fact that he's come into your dream and was smiling is proof positive of exactly what I'm saying. So I'm going to give you the chance. You think about it. Julie, comments on what I'm saying?
I just wanted to say, please don't apologize. It's so interesting because I had a dream of my older daughter this morning, who I have a struggled relationship with. And my own mother. She died when of accidental overdose of pills when I was only 31. And I realized 30 years later that I'd spent that whole 3 decades working, even though she'd been gone, trying to hear the words for once in my life, I love you and I'm proud of you, which I never heard when she was alive. So no accidents. It's very powerful. This is what it's all about, right? I mean, this is the potential of the windows, and our consciousness never sleeps. That's the important thing to know, whether we think the real world is just this waking world, but our psyche lives in eternity. And when we sleep, our subconscious never does. And so ditto to everything you've said. And I honor you and Jen for the vulnerability. And, you know, that's what we would hope, that people would recognize the opportunity to see the mirrors that are held up for healing, for awareness, and for growth.
Absolutely.
That's why we're here. That's why we do the work.
Exactly. So what would you, Julie, like to say, if you know, or what you have said that brought some peace to that troubled relationship with your mom or your daughter?
Forgiveness and understanding that, well, the real understanding, at least for me, is that my own sense of self-worth isn't tied to what I'm getting from the outside, that it has to come from within, that I have to learn and have learned to love and accept myself, and to just show up and do the best I can, and to forgive those who perhaps didn't give me what I thought I needed, but in truth, it needed to come from within.
So I'm going to extrapolate from that maybe one thing that you may have said or needed to say to come to that place is, mom or daughter, I know that you have not always been the biggest fans of me the way I wanted you to be, but I do know that it helped me develop my own internal sense of worthiness. So I thank you for that.
Absolutely. And that's the work that I did. That's the work of probably almost exactly in those words, as I had the wisdom and the insight to come to that point. Because speaking of astrology for just a second, I mean, we come in with issues what we want to heal. It's what we want to learn. It takes us a while to figure out what they are, but that's the process. And so through the lessons of our life, if we learn them, then we get to move on to new lessons, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm going to put Jen on the spot right now and say, do you want to, we have a hello here. Good morning. Good morning to you too. I'm not quite sure who that is, but I'll go to the Facebook in a second. But what I am asking, Jen, if you would like and with both Julie and I here to coach you and hold your hand as you speak to your dad right now and maybe say some things that will bring you some peace, because he was in your dream, so he's there, ready and receptive.
Yeah, sure. I'll do that. Since we're here,
Yeah.
a little vulnerable, but that's all right.
Yeah,
I got
thank
this.
you. Thank you for being vulnerable. I was texting her in the background saying, no pressure. I'm not making you do this, but here I just feel like it's time. And if you've just tuned in, this is Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show and the once a month dream interpretation. We have our fabulous Julie Loar, my staff interpreter here, as well as a victim / volunteer who is vulnerable, and I'm just so proud of her right now. She is a coaching client of mine, but she wanted I offered the dream interpretation, which has raised a common thing that happens with people who have unfinished business with those who have passed. And so I just offered Jen the opportunity to do some work, and she's accepted. So what would you like to say to your dad?
One thing I like to say is I would like to hear him speak to me the next time he comes into my dream, instead of just looking at me or speaking to someone else, that I'm ready to communicate with him. And maybe this is something from my end that I need to work on to bridge that gap. I do know that there is some forgiveness that I need to do from my end. He did his best. That's something that I'm beginning to realize.
I'm gonna stop you just for a second. I want you to pretend that your dad is here and you can speak directly to him.
Okay.
What was his name?
His saint name was Anthony,
Okay.
because he's a Catholic.
So actually, let's just say Dad.
Yeah.
Is that what you called him?
I call him Ba.
Ba. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. So Ba.
Ba.
I realize you did the best that you could.
I realized that you did the best that you could. Our relationship wasn't always the best. I realized some of the choices that you made in life wasn't the best, with your drinking, your negligence. But it's over now. You're in a much better place. I know that you didn't ask to be in that stroke, and that I do realize that the look in your face over the last 8 years, seeing your health deteriorate, took a toll on us emotionally. And I know it took a toll on you. I know there are times that you just wanted to give up and die, but you didn't. You held on as long as you could. And finally, you made a decision to go to the other side. And I know you're in a better place right now. So that brings me peace, that you're walking. Something that you haven't done in the last 8 years, being wheelchair bound. I hope this is enough message for you to, when you come see me, we can have an open dialogue next time.
Beautiful. Thank you, Jen, for that. And I'm just gonna, I don't know if I'm making this up or if I heard it or he's speaking to me, and I want to speak to you right now. I don't know if he came to you, Julie, but I hear him very clearly. I love you, my daughter. I'm sorry that I could not appreciate you or attend to you or focus on you or be interested in you as much as I should have.
I heard the same.
You did hear the same? Okay. I am sorry that I was not as strong of a man that I wanted to be. And because of that, I withdrew into myself. I used substances to mask my own pain and discomfort with myself. And I'm sorry that you had to see that. And I know that the stroke was a way to humble me and also to show that I still wanted to live. I wanted a chance to make things right, and I could not do that to the extent that I wanted to. But I do know that I can make things right by loving you from where I am right now, to smile at you from where you are. I have no blame and no shame in what we have together. I don't blame you for blaming me, and I love you, and I've always been proud of you, and you will hear me cheering for you for the rest of your life from afar, but as close to you as in your dreams. And I look forward to having that relationship with you that we never had in life, but we can have in our dreams. And I love all the things that you do and are brave enough to do, and that we got to talk here on the air, which is something you've never done. And I just love you. I love you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for that message.
And I love crying. Tears of the disinfectant that keep our hearts soft. I know that you're also trying not to cry, but if you have some tears, I'm glad that you have them, because it's so important. That means you have an open heart. If you're listening and you're wondering what just happened, we took a dream from Jen, who is a coaching client of mine, and are working through a relationship that was not ideal, which everybody knows, because everybody has a non-ideal relationship in life right now. And if they have moved to the other side, that's what we're doing. So I am so grateful that it went this way. This was not the way it was supposed to go. Today we were just supposed to do a bunch of dream interpretations, and I'm grateful that I got the signal and we ran with it. How are you feeling?
Well, I'm glad I didn't show my video, because I have down my eyes right now.
Good, yay! I love it when you cry. I'm a sadistic coach.
Jen, I just want to honor you too. That's incredibly brave. Took a lot of courage to open yourself that way. And here we are with a whole bunch of people listening. But I also want to say that everyone who participated in this received a healing themselves in some way. The result of your experience, your honesty, and as an example for what it takes, the strength and openness it takes to heal and go forward. So
Absolutely.
So thank you.
Yes, and for that role model, and taking the courage to do that. I gave her every opportunity to say no, and she said yes. And so you get the Dr. Marissa's Beneficial Presence on the Planet Award, Jen. So
totally unexpected.
I know. I wasn't expecting to do that. So don't say I've never given you anything. Oh, that's beautiful. Any other dreams, Jen?
A little overwhelmed from that. I feel like
No. Please don't. Before I take you off the air and see if there's anybody else that wants to come on with the dream, I just want to make sure we're okay.
I mean, I guess, can I ask a question?
Yeah, please.
How do we know if it's our angels or our spirit guides using our dreams to communicate with us? Like, what signals gives that away that it's just them talking to me?
Well, I think that it's an interesting question. And I guess the thing I would say is part of it's understanding how we're constructed, how our consciousness operates. And part of us has, which is probably the most narrow part, is what we call the waking life. This other big part of us is what we often call our subconscious, which beats our heart, digests our food, never sleeps, is always aware. And the part that I call our soul that lives outside of time and space, where your father is now, where Ba is now, that's the largest part of us. And it's that part that projects a portion into an incarnation in space time. That we just know, and we have to trust that others, loved ones, other guides, other helpers may reach in from time to time. But our dreams are tailored just for us, these experiences. And I don't know, maybe it's something that's learned just to trust based on experiences. And maybe we'll talk a little bit about the phenomenon of synchronicity and how that reaches into the waking life as a connection. I would say you just know it in your body. You just feel it. It feels differently than just someone saying hello to you in the grocery store. There's sort of a bodily reaction that accompanies an experience, just like the one you had today. There's a sense of authenticity, a sense of deep feeling in your heart and your bones and your gut, wherever. And we each may experience it just a little bit differently. Some people get a chill, some people have a feeling in their gut, some people have a different kind. But there's just a, you know, you're connected in a powerful way.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Makes sense.
Yeah, because just now, like, I'll tell you, when the words were coming in my head from your dad, like, I knew that it was not me making it up, but my head started saying, oh, here we go. You know, you're making shit up. I'm sorry. You're making shiitake up, you know, and this is really not real, because I'm like the most reluctant woo-woo you will ever meet. I'm not, you know, that stuff. You saw how I dealt with dreams or, you know, any kind of woo-woo stuff. And yet you just, like Julie said, you kind of know, and just quit thinking about it. Because you're a thinker, I'm a thinker, we're overthinkers, and sometimes that gets in the way of the flow of the supernatural, which is not like weird. It is truly just part of life. We are supernatural in the sense that we are all energy, and we are all full expressions of that source or God or whatever you want to call him. I call him my UPS man, my universal power source, who delivers every morning when I pray and meditate. So, you know, when you stop thinking and blocking and saying this is not real, is when you're able to feel and hear and sense it. And then the other thing I would say is, how do you know it's real? Does it feel good? When it feels good, it's real. When it feels really bad and scary and horrible, it's not real.
Perfect.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Let's see, how much time? We have 6 minutes left. Any more questions, Jen? I don't see anybody in the comment asking any questions. I do see some thumbs up, so I'm really happy about that. But if you have a question, please.
I do have one more, but I'm hoping it's not going off topic with these questions that I'm about to ask. It's regarding sleep paralysis. And this is a common theme in my life. I get frequent sleep paralysis where, you know, your body is frozen, but your mind is awake. Is there any connections with that in dreams, or any connection with that to any other supernatural beings?
Well, I don't know in your case. So we all go through multiple what are called dream cycles every night, 4, 5, 6, depending on how long people sleep. And they begin with where the brainwaves change, and we go from beta, which is wide awake thinking, into alpha as we just begin to relax, then into theta. The cycles last totally about 90 minutes. And during the time when we dream, our body is paralyzed, except for times with people who sleepwalk, who have, they aren't necessarily typical. And so I don't know, you might even want to, there's sleep clinics now all over the country because so many people are sleep deprived. But it's not unnatural to have paralysis. That's a safeguard when we dream, so we don't get up and act things out in some way and harm ourselves or others. And so there may be just something happening with you where you're aware or dreaming lucidly when that's happening. So maybe this, I'm saying this off the top of my head, I have no idea. It's like Dr. Marissa said, I don't know whether I'm making this up or not, but if it happens, you might just be aware and just relax into it, knowing that the paralysis at some point is really there to protect you. And I often also recommend that people lie perfectly still in the morning to help them remember their dreams, because sometimes before we move and do something. So I think it's fine. It sounds like it's probably just, I don't think there's a disorder or dysfunction at all. I'm aware or between the state of dreams and waking. I would just recommend taking a couple of deep breaths and relaxing into it. If it doesn't go away after that, and then you're nervous, you might investigate it a little more. But intuitively, I think you're just having a sensitivity that most of us don't have. What do you think, Marissa? Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, this is much more your realm than mine. So I would totally agree with that. Have you been to a sleep clinic?
No, I've never been to a sleep clinic.
Okay, so you might be a great guinea pig for them.
Right. It's true. And there are sleep clinics now. It turns out the whole country is seriously sleep deprived, and probably it's too much caffeine, too much worry, too much stress. We now live in this 24/7 society where the lights are on all the time. And so many of us have disturbed what might be more of a natural way of living or thinking. Also suggest sleeping in complete dark, don't keep your phone in your room, all those sorts of things that can disturb these natural cycles. But if it doesn't go away and it bothers you, then you might just check out a sleep clinic. I'm sure there are many, and many around. It turns out it's a thing now.
Beautiful. And I've just been told I have 2 minutes left, and that was a minute ago. So I just want to thank both of you so much, Jen, for your vulnerability and your courage to open up about stuff, myself included, and Julie. Thanks as usual for being a wonderful staff show expert on dream interpretation. I didn't get the time to ask about, thanks to your question, Jen. I thought, next time we're going to have to talk about sleep talking, which is what I have done, and sleepwalking, which my brother used to do at night. So we'll talk about that next month, every second Wednesday of the month. Please do make sure you remember to tune in for Julie Loar. Thanks again, Jen, for your vulnerability and your questions. I want to thank both of you for coming on. This is Dr. Marissa reporting live from her brother's office in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, streaming always live, connecting to you on Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show, and our dream interpretation segment. Remember, it's all about balance. Julie, you know the drill. Peace in, peace out, world. Peace through, inner peace now. Tomorrow, don't forget to tune in with Straight Talk with Sam Works and Dr. Marissa. Friday, Fired Up Fridays with Cynthia Kahi and Dr. Marissa. Now go forth and have the best day ever. See you tomorrow.